Kia ora everyone, you're here on the Empire for another game review with me, your resident tech and gaming guy Dave, and this week we're bringing you a PlayStation 5 exclusive from PlayStation Studios and developer Housemarque. This is our review of Returnal. So in this game, you play as Celine, a scout stranded on an alien world after crash landing in mysterious circumstances. The game doesn't dwell on this much beyond the opening moments, instead thrusting you straight into an alien world to explore and try to figure out how you might be able to escape its intimidating landscape. Over the course of the opening few moments of the game, you're introduced to movement, combat, and some of the core mechanics that this game has to offer, as well as a few intrigues that start to establish the underlying mystery and tension of this beautiful and at times ethereal alien world, so that you will push on and have a desire to explore and start to find answers to your rapidly growing set of questions. And at some point during this, you will almost certainly die as well. You see, Returnal is a roguelike game, and as such, death is simply a part of the experience. Underneath each death, there is a set of permanent enhancements that Celine can unlock, which allow you to progress further on each playthrough. So as long as you possess a reasonable amount of skill for this kind of game, which I don't, you'll be able to see that. These enhancements can be essential to being able to traverse the alien landscape, or unlocking new weapons, gadgets, or alternate fire modes for the game's weaponry choices. It allows you to see progress, even in the face of repeated inglorious demises of poorly timing a dash off of a ledge or however you end up fighting it in this game. Housemarque even goes so far as to advise you that this game is designed to be challenging from the get-go, so you know that they're not messing around, and the amount of hand-holding you get is extremely limited. I'm probably more on the casual end of this type of game, so I've seen the crash site that you wake up in after each death a lot. I mean, like a whole lot. Now, if it was just live, die, repeat, that would get stale pretty quickly. But thankfully there is so much more to this game than that. Each playthrough has something unique thanks to the world map reorganizing itself when you awaken new. It's not procedurally generated, and over time in playthroughs you will start to become familiar with certain rooms as you enter them. But each run offers something new and usually undiscovered in this beautiful, hostile, truly alien world that you must explore. Now that hostility comes from the various fauna that inhabit the world. Crazy looking monsters, ground-based, flying, and everything in between. Combat can range from small encounters through to frantic, full-room melees, which will absolutely challenge your ability to survive. Tension can become palpable in these encounters, as depending on what you've been able to find on your run so far, you may be outclassed by enemies long before you encounter any of the game's bosses. Skillful timing, composure under pressure, situational awareness, and just a smattering of luck are all required to see yourself through the game's 6 biomes. Now, along with the environments, we have to talk about the controls and this game's audio quickly. As a PS5 exclusive, Returnal has made extensive use of haptic feedback and 3D audio in the game, and it is awesome to experience. Each surface has a distinct feel which is picked up in the DualSense controller, and the soundscape, when heard through good headphones attached to the controller to take advantage of the 3D audio, is nothing short of epic. I've got to commend the developer for showcasing some of the PS5's best features here. One other thing before I forget is the adaptive triggers. In Returnal, the left trigger is both for focused aim and your secondary fire, depending on how far in the trigger is pushed. Resistance increases at half depth to provide feedback that you're moving through that primary fire and into the alt fire mode. In some of the more tense firefights, I found myself squeezing down too hard on the left trigger and inadvertently using my alt fire, or worse, being unable to fire my gun at all because I'd not eased off enough to go back into primary fire mode. It's not the game's fault though, and with practice I'm sure I'll get used to it. It just resulted in a few frustrating deaths early on in the game for me. All in, Returnal is a great exclusive for the PlayStation 5. It looks brilliant in 4K and 60 frames per second. It takes full advantage of the console's power and the next generation features in the DualSense and 3D audio departments, as well as the graphics. Exploration, movement, and combat are all solid and satisfying, and whilst the difficulty curve is pretty steep, the unraveling of the story as you wake up at the crash site time and time again gives this title the necessary gravity to keep you coming back. If you're lucky enough to own a PS5 right now, I'd say this is a pretty essential addition to your fledgling library of exclusive titles. It's a bold new IP from PlayStation Studios, a great game, and an easy 9 out of 10 from me. If you can get over the difficulty curve of the game and you don't mind dying a lot, you'll have an excellent time playing this one. Thanks very much for checking out this review. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a crash site to get back to.